Welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook. This week's guest is Tessa McNeff. Tessa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Excellent, excellent. So usually I like to start off the podcast with trying to get in the realtor's mind of kind of why you got into real estate, what kind of prompts the vision or sparked the idea that this might be a great career path for you. So why don't you kind of take us back down memory lane on, what got you kind of going and thinking about becoming a realtor?
Yeah. Well, whenever I started thinking about doing it, it was really just, I was always working for everybody else, working a lot of hours. And I was like, why am I not putting this into my own business, my own time? Mm-hmm. When I grew up, my mom was a real estate agent, and then she moved over to property management. So I was like, why don't I do what she did? She lived a great life. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I went to real estate school. I ended up loving everything I was learning, even though it's nothing like the real estate world. 100%. And I just like working for myself. That was the whole reason.
So you kind of got into it with the mindset of, hey, I want to work for myself, build my own business, build something for myself, my family. And then obviously you had the insight from kind of growing up in that environment, with your mom doing that, not only the sales, but also the property management aspect.
Yeah. She really loved it. And, I really loved how she made friends too. So all of her clients, she really made connections with them. And I loved how she made lifelong friends.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's definitely one of the perks for becoming a realtor is those connections and then kind of working with those people and not only repeat clientele, but also kind of when you get referrals from them, their sphere, and usually you're working with like-minded people.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So you said before you're kind of working for other people, putting, obviously making a living, but putting more money in their pocket. You wanted to kind of enjoy the fruits of your labor, even if there's going to be more risk, and then, harder work and uncertainty. But why don't you tell us about your career path prior to real estate? What exactly were you doing before becoming a realtor?
I was doing a lot of property management. I was doing a lot of HR, payroll, things along those lines. So, taking care of managing other people's businesses. They're people that were coming in, They're employees, things along those lines.
So when you're managing property management portfolio, then you're also handling like payroll, HR, benefits, things of that nature. And were you out in the field, or was it more just kind of office calls, paperwork?
Office calls, paperwork, stuck at a desk.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I like doing the paperwork, but at the same time, I like to be out there.
Absolutely. So it's night and day from what you're doing now, where you're constantly out in the field.
Yes.
All right. So then, one thing we like to do is like an agent like yourself who's getting to a high level of success rather quickly is finding out some of those traits or characteristics that you kind of picked up along the way. One of them, you had insight from mom, what the sales kind of look like, just I'm sure, hearing it subconsciously, learning some of it. Then obviously you had some property management experience prior to getting into the sales aspect. So you knew some of the lingo, some things to look for. But what were some things in your past endeavors that you feel helped you develop a skill set to get into maybe an understanding of what it was going to take, or to help you get into sales at a quicker pace than other agents?
Well, it was more just the fact that I'm a people person. I love to people please. I love to serve people. I like to help them get what they want. So for me, it was as long as I am working to help people find what they need, I'm not really in sales. I'm not the best salesperson. Right. I more just try to meet people, fill them out, and then pursue what they like.
Yeah, and honestly though, that makes the best salesperson because you're not really selling. And I always say, we call ourselves real estate advisors. You're advising and consulting. And any sales, if you really look at it, but somebody has a problem, and then you're either providing a solution or your service might be the solution, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you don't want to push somebody in a house that they don't want, or might not be a good fit for them based on their needs. But it's just kind of working for them and then finding that house, and then it's a great reward because not only are you compensated well for doing it, but it's also a great feeling because they're very happy with what they got, and you kind of were a part of that journey.
Exactly. I just actually got from one of my clients a year anniversary card from them saying thank you for helping me find my perfect home. And that just makes me feel great.
Oh, that's awesome. You know what I mean? It really, especially kind of, with sales, you're going to have those lulls, right? You're going to have those highs and lows, and kind of, it's nice to get reminded that, hey, it's not just a job. This isn't just about me making money. I'm also impacting lives and families and building those connections as you discussed prior to before. Awesome. So what's something you had a little bit of background, obviously you knew mom doing it, you had the property management experience. If you were to say one thing you did not expect when getting to the sales side of real estate, what would that be?
Sometimes the breaks. The lows are really low, but the highs are really high, and you have to know how to go through it. So right now we're hitting a little bit of a low personally for me, and I'm just trucking through it, and the free time is insane right now.
So and when you're saying kind of the breaks, is it more impacting you like a wall of like, I'm trying to stay busy and work? Or are you dealing more with like an emotional roller coaster of, where it kind of gets anxiety and stressful, like I really need to get one going and get.
Yeah. It's more of like the emotional roller coaster of it all, because also your clients are also really stressed out. They don't know if they want to move forward. They don't know if the house is right. Are they going to regret it? What about the interest rate? There's so many what ifs in my world and their world that you just kind of got to find the way to push through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of keep the persevering and moving forward and progressing. What are some things or some tactics or whatever it might be that helps you with your mindset to where, I'm not saying you're always grounded, but to kind of help you process those emotions where you kind of can stay grounded for your clients?
More of just, I guess to be realistic with it, and it takes time. Anything that you want long term takes time. You're not just going to rush in, and it's very rare if you walk into your first house and you're like, wow, this is it for me. It's a rare thing. Usually you're seeing multiple homes. With the lack of inventory, we're not seeing them just as quickly. So I just say take it one day at a time, and I tell them that, and I tell myself that too.
Yeah, and absolutely. And honestly, that's great advice because that's all you can do. And a lot of people I've spoken to, especially like business owners who've built $1 million businesses and, have gotten to high level, not in real estate, but other sectors as well, is they always talk about the journey and the process. Once they kind of hit the top of the mountain, that's great and all, but they really enjoy that journey and process. And anybody who builds a business that's sustainable, it does take time, and it's going to be part of the journey. It's just to embrace that, understand that, and be mentally prepared.
Exactly, and that's the best part.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, obviously, you spoke a little bit about shortage of inventory. You got a lot of buyers you're working with. One of the things that's can be frustrating to deal with is the lack of inventory, right? Not that many homes come on the market. When a home probably does fit their criteria, you're back into multiple offers, so it's not guaranteed you're going to win that one because we have such a shortage of inventory. What's one thing that you're doing right now, maybe a little more of, or doubling down on that, about a year ago you weren't having to do because of the inventory problems now and there not being as many homes on the market as there was even last year?
I mean, I'm actually kind of reaching out to random people. If I come across a home, like there's a house for sale, one of my clients, we went, and this might be way off the spectrum, but we went and saw a home. It was in Wesley Chapel. It was nothing like they wanted. Mm-hmm. They looked across the street and they're like, see, that's what I want. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, what do you like about it? Went, found out, got the details. I walked across the street, knocked on the door, and I was like, hey, would you be interested in selling your home? Mm-hmm. They told me no. Mm-hmm. But it's just going out of your way, doing different things, not just looking on the line, sending emails, actually listening to your clients and going out of your hole and being awkward and knocking on doors.
Yeah. And honestly, Marco Triano, who's with us, had success. I'll never forget, like back in 15, 16, doing something similar. So what she did, so obviously if it's a master plan community, usually it's a track home, a spec home. So you're going to find other models of that too. And then if you go to public records, it's a little legwork. But then you can go to the square footage and you could find, hey, where are these homes in this community that they're wanting? And then what she did is not only door knock, but send out a mailer, and she was able to kind of put one of those deals together. Yeah. So it's like, what it sounds like to me is you're doing some things to be proactive, thinking outside the box, not just relying on the MLS, not being passive, but actually going to be proactive for your clients and trying to find that inventory, even if it doesn't exist in today's market.
Yes, 100%.
That's awesome. So, there's a lot of people kind of getting licensed now, or thinking about, maybe they're not having the type of success they'd want. They thought they'd be closing more transactions or having more business, or maybe somebody who's been in it for a while and they're just kind of in a lull. If you were to give somebody a tip, information, somebody's kind of struggling in production or somebody who's thinking about getting real estate, if you're like, hey, focus on this one thing or make sure you're aware of this and be prepared, what would that one thing be?
To just go into it with your mind open. You're always learning. You will never know anything fully. You will always learn something new, and you just got to take it day by day. If you look at it and you're counting down, you'll be stressing yourself out, and you just got to ride literally the waves with real estate, I feel like.
So what I'm going to sum up what you just said is, one, be open-minded. Never be closed-minded. Never let your ego say, I'm a know-it-all, I know everything. Still to this day, I'm learning. You are going to learn something new every day. There's going to be a new situation. It seems like every deal is a new situation. There's something that comes up that you haven't had to deal with in the past. Also, everybody's heard the story of the tortoise and the hare, but be more tortoise-esque with your approach. Everybody kind of knows the hare got out to this fast start, ended up losing the race. But real estate's a marathon, not a kind of a sprint.
Yes.
So just make sure you're prepared to have the endurance for it and don't expect, to get to that finish line sooner than later.
100%. Don't give up.
100%. And then my last question is kind of, what are you doing right now? So obviously, I know you've kind of done some proactive things for your clients and trying to find that inventory when we're dealing with these inventory constraints. But what are some things you're doing to kind of build onto your brand or help yourself build longevity in the marketplace and ensure that, hey, I know you're aware that it's not going to happen overnight, but this is the path I'm going. This is my trajectory. I'm eventually going to get there. I'm not going to quit. And what are some things you're kind of doing to help build on your business long term?
Well, I created a goal list. I try to check that off every 30 days, review it, see what I could do better. I'm also trying to get out of my comfort zone and talk about real estate more with strangers. If I overhear a conversation, I'm doing the uncomfortable things, being like, oh, I heard you're looking for a house. Or, oh, what are you looking for? I'm a real estate agent. Things along those lines. I've never really been into that. I kind of just, wait till somebody comes up to me and asks me. I'm going out of my way now. I'm trying to build my brand online. So doing all the things that I don't like doing. I'm forcing myself to do.
Well, I heard a saying before, and I might butcher it here, but it's something about successful people. The reason they're successful is they're willing to do the things that unsuccessful people are not willing to do. So, if you want to have that level of success, most agents are fine being passive and kind of waiting, but there's not too many that are going to be aggressive. Go try to find inventory, things of that nature. So if you want to have success, it's going above and beyond. And a lot of times, what got you here isn't going to get you there. You got to get outside your comfort zone. Because if you want to kind of bust through a ceiling and grow and almost ascend to the next level, then you're going to have to do things that you weren't doing kind of down at this level.
Exactly. You got to grow and learn.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, Tessa, it was a pleasure having you on this week's podcast. For any buyer or seller out there in the Tampa Bay market, whether it's Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas County, Hernando County, Sarasota, Manatee, what would be the best contact information for our audience to kind of reach out to if they're looking to buy and sell? If you give the best email and phone number, and we are going to post this on the social media sites as well.
You can reach out to me at tessa@54realty.com by email or phone 813-363-8303.
And that's Tessa, Tessa,
Yes.
at 54realty.com. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on this week's podcast. Thank you so much for coming on down. And we greatly appreciate you tuning in to another week of the Real Estate Playbook.